Hi, I'm Tandy Gutierrez, and I'm the founder of MattenKitchen.com, and I've been a fitness and wellness educator in the industry for nearly 2 decades. And today I asked some of my members of MattenKitchen.com to share their experience, in particular to their autoimmune disorders, diseases, and issues, of which I am one of those people. So I feel like it's really important to share our stories of how we manage them because they are very particular things. And in the fitness industry in particular, most coaches, classes, and studios don't speak to it because they don't know how to. And there is a way to train an autoimmune body that is safer and more efficient, that actually bolsters and aids your overall wellness and healing. That, again, it's just because people don't know. So because I come with both set of skill sets of having 3 autoimmune diseases, as well as the background and experience in fitness and wellness, I teach to that. Typically in these, I don't share my full experience, but because I'm teaching you all, I feel like it's important to know. So I have IBS, which is classified as an autoimmune issue. I have celiac, and I had a thyroidectomy about 6 years ago. So I have the classic story of it took 12 years to get diagnosed because it takes so long to see how all the pieces come together. There was not as much education or awareness around it, and it took a long time. So that being said, I'm 39, I'm about to be 40 this coming year. They found nodules on my thyroid when I was 18. So I was living with this process of something haywire, but because it wasn't cancer, they didn't know what to do with me for a very, very long time. How does that relate to what I teach? I took my health into my own hands at a certain stage because all of the practitioners and doctors that I was going to and getting help who wanted to help me wasn't creating any upswing. I finally had the thyroidectomy because that was what they had said would work, because this is what was going wrong. I had 9 nodules on my thyroid and 1 that was bigger than my thyroid itself. None of which were cancerous, but my, T levels and T cell counts and all these things were all kinds of crazy all over the map. In fact, one doctor was like, I don't even know how you're not in complete thyroid storm meltdown. I was never diagnosed with Hashimoto's, even though I was hyper. So it just was, it was at a stage where I could not have the removal, and the medication that they have you on before the removal is more extreme than after on your liver. So I went for the removal. After the removal, everything got worse. And I had a really, really good endocrinologist. I still have her. She's here in New York. That kind of went, are you celiac? And then it became this mystery, and then this forward piece. But the way that I teach is because of all the personal research I did for 12 years before I could get the celiac diagnosis, post-thyroidectomy. And I think as women especially, we understand that IBS is the I don't know, diagnosis. And that classically I was given antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds and told that I was stressed. And I was like, I am not stressed. There is something wrong here. So I have done nothing but read and research and try to put the puzzle pieces together for myself, because I felt like there are answers out there. There's got to be an answer, and there's a reason. And we have all this science out there. Why is there no linear process to better? So it came to fruition after the thyroidectomy, after my second son, and after medication, because all of these layers just kept making everything worse. So what I teach is what I've researched and seen and what I have applied in the past nearly 2 decades to my clients, and in particular to autoimmune bodies. So to give it some focus, autoimmune bodies should not be working out past the 30-minute mark with anything strenuous. It fires your stress hormones. In a healthy, normal, regular body, that's good. That makes fire, and that allows you to burn calories, and that allows you to break down, tear muscle tissue in a constructive way. For us with autoimmune issues, that fires that stress signal in the body that can trigger our autoimmune symptoms or cause a relapse. So for years in the fitness and wellness industry, it was totally my, dirty little secret that I would take classes and I would blow my system out. I'd be down for weeks, or that because I looked fit, because I was skinny, that I was so healthy. Meanwhile, I had chronic diarrhea. I was having panic attacks. I had these bouts of major depression. And it was just this layer upon layer and layer. Once I read that we should not be working, like stress at the 30-minute mark fires it, like all the lights in the room went on. And I was like, why is nobody teaching to this? And the minute I abided by that and quit going to everybody else's classes, started the upswing. And being consistent, that you can make fitness, wellness gains and changes and evolution in the body by abiding by this 30-minute mark. And so this idea of push, it's bad for all bodies. I'm just going to say that. It's particularly bad for female bodies because of hormone imbalance, but it's extremely bad for autoimmune bodies. And I think we'll probably get into it that people with autoimmune issues quit working out. Meanwhile, they want to be as healthy as possible because they're afraid it's going to trigger a relapse. So I started teaching, I started working on me, and then everybody noticed this upswing and like, what are you doing? And I had my second baby and like all of these things. And then it rolled into me writing the food reset. At that time, there were a lot of not a lot. There were more resources for food, and paleo was just becoming a thing. And the Autoimmune Protocol, which I think some of us can speak to in this group, was very, it still is in the forefront, and it's still a go-to. But I found it very complicated. I found it very lacking in a broad spectrum of traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine and holistic healing. And I felt like it was too heavy on the acidic side of foods. And although what I have written in the reset is a blend that really runs the middle of the road that allows people to crack their food code. So yes, it was written to heal an autoimmune system and to heal a gut. But then when I had people asking me behind the scenes, like, what are you doing? And what's going on? And like, what are you eating? And so I started to share. I was like, okay, you're my friend. You've been a client for forever. Sure. Because it's totally a do no harm thing. It's just real food. And the transition in their bodies was unbelievable. So this, autoimmune bodies are so sensitive that really anything that works for us will work for anybody. And that's so cool, right? So it was kind of like magic. And then the food component of it shows so deeply how we're affected by what we nourish our bodies with. But what I taught allowed people to crack their own food code instead of like implementing them into the AIP, the protocol, because I was still struggling on the protocol. And so I was like, okay, it's good and it's real. And I know the people who wrote it and they're beautifully intelligent and it works for so many, but it didn't work for me. So clearly, if it wasn't working for me, there was more people out there that it's not working for. So I'm sharing mine because I didn't get better and I didn't get well, even though I was going to practitioners and being very diligent about trying to create a health upswing and trying to manage my autoimmune diseases. But none of it happened until I took it into my own hands and abided by the workouts, the food, and the lifestyle pieces to minimize stress and self-care. The beautiful piece about that is you don't have to have an autoimmune disease to be on Mat and Kitchen, because everybody benefits from taking care of themselves in a balanced way. But I feel, and still do, that there's no autoimmune platform addressing the three things, and most specifically the workout component. Okay, so today I really wanted to share member stories, and I have 3 of our member guests here today, and I wanted to keep it minimal because our stories are deeper and longer and take a little more time to tell and are a little bit more nuanced, and so I wanted there to be time to honor that. So Vanessa, will you share with us essentially what MNK solves for you, and tell us kind of a little bit about yourself at the same time?
My name is Vanessa, and I'm 29 years old, and I live in Austin, Texas. and I have been sick my entire life. And when I say sick, I mean, even as early as 6, I remember I would be at 100% or at 0% in a matter of 10 seconds. And it would go back and forth, and nothing really made sense as to what was triggering it. But I always remember just not feeling well. Fast forward to now in life, and I have Addison's disease, which is an adrenal disease that basically means that my adrenal glands don't work anymore. So those stress hormones that you were talking about, my body actually doesn't make. So I'll get to it, but one of the reasons Matt Kitchen is so amazing because it literally honors perfectly for my disease. But so now I'm on a steroid replacement forever, which is kind of a bummer being on medicine, but it saves my life, and so I have to take it. So I have Addison's disease, and because of that, I have osteoporosis. So I also have to manage my workout really mindfully. I moved to Austin about 2012, and at this point in my life, I continually got sicker and sicker. And I really wanted to take the wellness into my own hands because, just like Tandy said, I wasn't really finding relief or answers from doctors. No one really knew what was wrong with me. This was prior to diagnosis. And I did my yoga certification in 2013. And that really sped forward my wellness journey. And I became a little bit more present in my body and aware of what's happening outside of classrooms or outside of classes I was taking or outside of what I was putting my body about. The whole world kind of has a huge play on whole body wellness. And it was actually that year that I met Tandy. She did a workshop at my yoga studio, and I wasn't actually taking the class. I was managing the desk, and I heard her in the back room with all these women, and I was like, who is this magnificent woman with this huge following? And I was just listening, and I was like, what are they talking about? And they stayed forever and talked about the food reset. And I was like, oh my gosh, one of my main problems is food. No matter what I eat, I'm always sick. And that is something that later I figured out. I was always kind of catatonic after I'd eat anything. So I eliminated gluten, I eliminated dairy, cut out alcohol, cut out sugars, cut out so many different things, but still wasn't really finding relief. So when I heard her talk about the reset, I was like, ooh, this sounds like something I should get into. But of course I didn't because life and things happen, and I was like, whatever, I'll do it later. And then actually a little later that year, so I got my yoga certification, but then I also got specialization in children's yoga. I actually started teaching her oldest, Milo, in an after-school program. And then I kind of was following up with Tandy a little more and messaging with her, and I was like, who is this woman? I feel like I need to get in touch with her a little more. And then I would say it was a little bit after that I started getting on the mat and playing with it and just being like, oh, I'll just do these workouts. These are really fun and really short. I can do that. But I just kept getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And I finally was diagnosed in 2016 and actually ended up out at the Mayo Clinic because I was on the Autoimmune Paleo Protocol and it wasn't really successful for me. I was eliminating so many things. I'd been on it for about a year and a half and I had deteriorated so much and lost 25 pounds, and my skin started turning orange, and there was just we didn't know what was going on with me. So went out to the Mayo Clinic and reconnected with Tandy there, and I was like, look, I'm a mess, and you have guidance, and you have powers, and I need to tap into that, and I need to honor that. So that was really when I got so gung-ho of being on the mat. No more of this wishy-washy, I'll do it, I'll not do it, I'll do it, I'll not do it. And once I started doing that, it was amazing, the change that had for my body, because these 30-minute workouts, which she talks about and you hear, but until you really start implementing it into your own body, you don't realize the amazing effect of it and how, wow, 30 minutes really is all you need. You just need 30 minutes. And especially our autoimmune bodies, that for those with those conditions, or my body where I can't produce any of those stress hormones, I literally can't process any other workout. For me to get ready to go to the gym and get to the gym, go to a class, by the time I even walk in the door, I'm so fatigued and so exhausted, I can't do anything. And then the teachers don't understand that or sympathize with that, and they just keep forcing you and pushing you to try to do things. So it was so magical to find a space that really honored the time frame that my body needed. And the really cool thing that I love about it is I can do as much or as little as I want. I'm on the mat every day now religiously, and I love it. But there are days when I wake up and it's a bad Addison's day, and I can't really move, I can't do anything. But I can go lay down on the mat, and if I can contract my belly button, and if I can take some deep breaths with my arms over my head, again, better is better. I'm feeling pretty good about myself that day. I'm on the mat, even if I don't do the video. I commented recently in one of the Facebook groups, but sometimes I just put the video on and I listen. Like, I close my eyes and I visualize my body going through it. And like, sometimes that's enough. I'm feeling it in my body. And that's a powerful thing on its own. So the workouts were amazing. I did the food reset. I did it 4 times. It was phenomenal. Every time I do it, I learn something new. I feel a little stronger in the gut. I feel stronger and wiser about my food choices. And I basically live on the food reset almost year round, in the fact that I do the roasted veggies and the proteins, and but I don't really add in past dairy. Like, I don't really add in anything else. I find what works for me and I stick with it. But sometimes it's fun to go back and do it again. But then Tandy opened up this whole other world of the cards and crystals and whole body wellness and Epsom salt baths. And I was like, ooh, this is really magical. And I really love this. And my disease is called a stress disease because I can't process stress of any kind, physical, mental, or emotional. So I have to have low stress all the time, which Tandy really caters to with all the guided meditations and the card readings. She's just really fostering a really whole wellness space for you to take on and off the mat, which has helped me in my condition immensely, because if there is a day where I can't do the workout and I lay on the mat and I breathe and I listen to a video, I can actually close my eyes and listen to the guided meditation of that month. And then I'm so plugged in and so tuned in, which is really healing for my body and my overall wellness. I have this affirmation that I've been saying for the last 4 years, which is really when I started to feel like I was kind of deteriorating, that I would say, I'm healthy, I'm strong, I'm happy, I'm calm. And it was almost more like I had to convince myself, like, I am healthy, I am strong, I'm happy, I'm calm. If I repeat it, it will be true. But in the last, I would say, year and a half of being on the mat with Tandy, I say it now, and it's a true, real thing. I'm like, yeah, I am healthy, I'm happy, I'm strong, like, I'm calm. I feel all those things really resonating with me because I'm honoring my autoimmune body in a way that bolsters the rest of my life. And that's really just so empowering when you have the tools. Oh, I feel so much for Tandy when you just went through a relapse, but I love that you posted, this is horrible and it's hard, but I have the tools and I know what to do. And I was like, yes, I have those tools now thanks to Tandy. Like, I'm able to heal myself slowly and surely. And I know it's not the end of the world. I know I can get through it. And I have the appropriate things that are going to help me manage this situation. It's not forever, which...
Well, I think for me, like, I want to just kind of piggyback on that, because that was the most infuriating thing to me as a person in the world, was like, nobody, like, people wanted to help. They really did. I had amazing doctors. I had great practitioners. I was in LA and New York. I had all of the resources and alternative, like, excellent care, but nobody could put all the pieces together for me, and nobody had a linear process. And I really did, you know, I feel like Chicken Little a lot. Like, I'm like, well, I'll just do it myself then, like, because I'm the only one inside this body. And this was what I didn't have before. And I did used to feel every time I had a relapse, which I didn't know it was a relapse, that I was dying. I was afraid I was going to lose my life. And I was losing so much weight. I was down to like 104 pounds. I'm nearly 5'6". Like, that's not okay, you know? And there was this confusion in LA that I looked fabulous. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, no, I can't keep anything on. And I would try to overeat. Then I would be in digestive distress, which makes it worse. And being postnatal, when I finally found a system, and it was trial and error and a ton of reading and just honoring it and being willing to do anything to get better, is when the upswing happened. And so now I haven't had a relapse that bad in a very long time. But I felt, I wasn't terrified. I really was terrified before when it would happen, because I thought, I know what to do, and I've got to go to bed, and I have to take Epsom salt baths, and I need to foam roll, and I have to get on the mat to a minimal extent to move some of this through. That's empowering. That's hope. That's healing. Healing makes says the definition of healing is to make something better. It doesn't mean it goes away. It doesn't mean we magically are just like, I don't have these issues anymore. Yeah, I don't have an organ. I'm missing one of my vital organs, and I have to take medication every day for the rest of my life. That's a stress on my liver, you know? And so these daily medications, like, yes, I've had people say some odd things to me, and I don't know if any of you have had it, but it's like, oh, I wish I had these issues so that I could be diligent about my health and my fitness. And I'm like, I will not drop the F-bomb in this video, but I'm like, that is an effed up thing to say. Like, you know, you can. Everybody has that power to take that into their hands. And we just get forced to the edge of it in these nasty ways. I had 2 young sons, and I didn't want to die. And I wasn't sure that that was not going to happen because I couldn't regulate my body. So one other piece I wanted to touch on for Vanessa, and then Christine, it'll be your turn, was that when you talk about going to class, that people just, it's not that they're mean, they just don't know. They are uneducated in this bit. There's no section of any, you know, certified personal trainer kit that speaks to autoimmune issues. I'm hoping someday, and maybe that's another calling, is to create that. But like, you know, there's a lot of postnatal and prenatal care. There's a lot of low back injury education in a general certification for yoga, Pilates, or personal training. There's nothing anywhere about autoimmune disease. And so when you go to a class, I'm curious, like you said it, and so I want to come back to it, is that you get pushed. One, if they have any whiff that you're a teacher of any kind, or then they get aggressive about it to be competitive or to push you. They say that they honor you going at your own pace, but then they think you're sitting out because you're giving them the middle finger or you don't like their teaching. It's like, no, because I can't do all of that. I mean, I used to spend half of classes in child's pose and know that there were nasty, like, why is she, you know, she not like what I'm teaching? Why doesn't she just leave? So there's all these layers emotionally and intellectually that come into it when you go into a studio that just make it harder. And the key for autoimmune issues is not to get stressed. I mean, Addison's is like the extreme case of it. But even me, it's like the daily stress has got to be kept really mellow. Otherwise it gets triggered and I get anxiety. And it's just like, I don't need you to stress me out when I'm trying to be in class to relax and to find balance in this insane way. So I think it was like just so perfect to state that going to class can be stressful because they don't know how to navigate it, even if you share with them that you have these issues. So thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you so
much. So Christine, it's your turn. Will you share with us?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Christine, and I am 55, I think. I just recently turned 55. I have this way of forgetting how old I am.
I know. I love it.
I know. I don't really care. I mean, I'm a 20-year-old in a 55-year-old woman's body, but I live in a lovely little island just off the west side of Seattle. And in a beautiful home that's a sanctuary. And boy, talk about stress reliever. We overlook one of the little harbors, and every morning I just look at the water and I just feel so blessed. So yeah, it's lovely here. I found Tandy through the AIP community, through the Autoimmune Protocol. I was doing the AIP or SAD and AIP and making the transition. And I found her, gosh, I think it's been close to 4 years. It's been a while. Yeah. And I have struggled my entire life with digestive issues. And I think it's because when I was very young, maybe 6, I had chronic strep throat for, gosh, probably 6 or 7 times. And they put me on full spectrum antibiotics again and again and again and again. And I think that really was what started the core of my damage and digestive issues. And it just never got better from there. And, you know, back in the 60s, it's not something that you're nutrition. I mean, I was fortunate that my mother was really into healthy food. She worked for a vitamin company. And I mean, I was taking cod liver oil back then before fish oil was a thing, you know, and we didn't eat much sugar, but I was always craving it, I think, because of yeast imbalance. So fast forward, I'm diagnosed IBS. I'm undiagnosed, but with Tandy, pretty sure fibromyalgia is really a core issue for me. But I have a lot of pain if I'm not careful, and a lot of inflammation if I'm not careful. And by not careful, it's really for me. I eliminated gluten, so gluten was out. And after I eliminated that, probably about 7-ish years ago, I noticed a huge improvement with body pain, which was a constant for me. And I'm a bit of a tank. I was raised by Germans, and you just keep going. You just keep moving. You don't talk about your pain, although I like to talk about my pain a lot, but you just keep going. You power through, because that's what you do. Life is hard. You just keep going. And so I didn't go to a lot of doctors, primarily because I never really found one that I felt like was getting to the core of my issue. Even with the natural doctors and naturopaths, I just really felt like I just wasn't getting what I needed. And so I love to research, and I love to learn about things, and I love to kind of figure out what's out there. The downside is that there's so much information out there that it is information overload sometimes. And I have a tendency to jump from one thing to the next. So when I found Tandy, really what it felt like was, okay, this is truth. I can feel this in here. When I did AIP at first, it felt really good, but there was just too much meat for me. And I just cannot do all that meat. And so what I wanted to say specifically about what Matt and Kitchen does for me, and specifically with Tandy, I mean, I can't, all of the women on this call and anyone who ever meets Tandy, I think, can attest to this. There's something about you, Tandy, that is so real and so grounded and so solid. Like, I feel, I'm gonna get a little bit verklempt here. I feel like you really are. You're a lifeline for me. You really are. So, sorry. But when I am in a sea of too much information overload, God, I can't believe I'm crying. I never cry. But it's like you're my lifeline. And even just being on this call, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God, please don't apologize. Like, don't. Like, this is part of it. Like, okay, so we're talking about wellness and autoimmune. And autoimmune is okay, I'll just say it. Before we started recording the call, we talked about how there's so many autoimmune people on Matt and Kitchen, yet they didn't want to talk about it in front of people. And like, they will talk at length to me. I get email after email. They will not really always post online about it, but like books of emails that I spend a lot of time with people and reading and understanding. It's so personal and but I mean, Christine, this is also about, we've spent a lifetime of just keep going because nobody understood it. They think that it's made up. We've been called, anxious and depressed, and
there she's complaining again.
Hypochondriacs for years. So when you find anybody, and I've even gone through it, this last relapse was a huge healing for me, of like, I had never honored being so angry about it. That nobody, and I will say it, and this is, I genuinely wanted to be the person that I could not find for myself. And that includes family, unfortunately, that didn't believe me, that poo-pooed it, thought I just didn't want to participate in things, or I was pretending to be sick all the time, or that I just got food poisoning every 3 months. Like, it's deep. It's so deep. So when somebody honors that you feel terrible, that there are ways to make it better, it's so powerful. And I am that person that I will say this. I kind of think of Barbara Walters, when they say that it's like not a Barbara Walters interview unless somebody cries. Like, I feel like it's
you're welcome.
It's not for me, it's not a true one-on-one. There cannot be healing until you poke at that cry. I swear to like, it's powerful. And I love to hold that space for people, because I used to cry in quiet. This past, month, I locked myself in the bathroom because I just thought, nobody's going to understand this, and it's going to be too messy. And I don't want to scare anyone either, but I have to get this out. And this, as women in particular, do not cry, because don't you dare show any vulnerability.
Right.
When we don't let those tears come out, we don't get to heal.
Yeah.
They're very soothing. They're medicine. Like, so I go, please cry and please don't
Yeah.
apologize. Like,
I know. And I get that, because I totally get that. But it's like, when I'm the one, it's like, I prefer to do it in private,
I
you
don't
know,
know.
messy. But I wanted to say something about that, what you just said, because I have had so many people say to me, oh, what sort of diet are you on now? And I don't even like that word diet, but like, what are you doing now? You know, it's like going to potlucks is always the thing. I just bring my own food, but, oh, what you doing now? You know, it's like, in a really, I don't know, what's that word? Like, in an insulting way, like bringing me down, demeaning way,
Yeah.
you know? So anyway, do I have any more time?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the one thing I wanted to say, I really wanted to make sure that I stress this, is that, because it's easy for me to sometimes go out and see what's out there and see what the newest is, and I get that information overload. Matt and Kitchen, and Tandy in particular, really are a lifeline. It always brings me back to grounded, to the truth, to the simple. I've never liked the hardcore workouts. I cannot stand that phrase, no pain, no gain. I think that's cruel, and it hurts us, especially those of us who are more tender, the canaries, you know? And so, yeah, it's important. And I tell everybody that I know that asks, or that I think might benefit, you know, without sounding I'm shoving it down their throat, but that there is so much truth here, and it's simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be for those of us with autoimmune. It can be for anyone. But within a sea of information overload, just bring it back to the core, to what's simple. And really, I do feel like Emma Kay and you are a huge lifeline for me. So thank you.
I'm so grateful, but I love, okay, so the two things to round your share out. One, the canaries. I've
Yep.
always said, and in private, because I didn't want it to be demeaning in any way, that I attract all the broken birds. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yep.
I do, but
Yep.
but the canaries, you know, it's like you send the canary in and like,
Yeah.
so we are the litmus test, I do believe, in many ways, for things that have just gotten too extreme and painful and degrading to our bodies. I mean, our food sources and the toxicity. We're educated now. We know how to implement it. We can reverse so many of these things that it's powerful. But, you know, Christine, you hit it right on the head, the noise factor. So when we first launched, it was Pimp Your Mat then, before we transitioned to Mat and Kitchen, because it's before I'd added the reset and the food. I never anticipated teaching food. I never. But I had been in the fitness industry for about 12 years at that time, at a peak stage with amazing people. There are good trainers out there who are talented and heartful and like thoughtful, but it's so noisy. And I was pissed. As a female, I was angry. And I got to a place where I thought, one, we've all been fed this batch of lies, you know, that the harder we go and if we train like a dude. I love the dudes in our world and on the mat. And I have a house full of men. But we are not dudes. Our genetics are different. That for a beautiful reason, and we need to honor it. And balance is always where the goods are at. You know, so I wanted to really show and have a platform to say that this is where you guys are being fed a load of baloney because it doesn't work. And so then that keeps you fearful, it keeps you spending money, and it keeps you in desperation for somebody and something else when we have everything we need. It's actually not as complicated as people make it. People make it complicated because they think that's the only way to make money at it. That's honest. Like, they keep you in fear, so you keep spending money. Oh, I need the next diet. I need the next widget. I need the next thing. No, you need a personal anchored dialogue with a linear process of how to figure out what works for you. Like, it's not mysterious, but they keep it mysterious to keep you in fear. And so I wanted to try to clear away the clutter and the noise, because I go, oh my God, they're reading all of this new article and this new hip thing and this new. That's exhausting. I find it exhausting. I'm still exhausted by it, where people send me stuff and I go, I'm not reading that. Like, just forget it. You know, because a body is built beautifully and perfectly. It works in a certain way. It's built to fuel a certain way. So by being broken, by being a broken bird, I figured out, like, well, how do you not break it in the first place? So the rules apply to everybody. It's just which stage it's at. What has happened online is that because everything's online, everyone's an expert. And that just kills me. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're not. And so then this discrepancy between how big of a following do you have means how good of an expert you are. Yet no, I wish, but no, so I think the all important key points, but Christine, to your, like, the noise factor is unbelievable. And I love that you said that, because in my heart, and I don't know that I say it a lot, I wanted to clear away so much of the noise, because it's exhausting, it hinders healing, and it absolutely thwarts progress. So
yep.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
All right, Jessica, I would like you to share. Thank you for being patient.
My pleasure. No, I think it's kind of nice actually that I went last, because I'm kind of really in the beginning stages of discovering all my autoimmune stuff. So it's kind of, you kind of gotten like a nice progression of where different people are at. So I think it's actually kind of really lovely. It works out well. So I'm 33. I currently live in New Jersey, right across the Hudson River from New York. And I first became introduced to Matt and Kitchen back when it was PYM in 2014. A very dear friend of mine went to school at Tandy, so I was kind of introduced to the whole world. And I kind of like stuck a toe in, and it just, whatever, like wasn't the right timing. I wasn't sick enough, I guess, because finally I got sick again. And I joined Matt and Kitchen in earnest in January of 2017. And so much of what you ladies said resonated with me. I have like this little army of pink Post-it notes here, so I'm gonna have to use all my notes. But the whole idea of, I've been a chronic people pleaser my whole life. I started out as a student athlete, and that's very much what speaks to what Christine was saying, of like, you push through it and you toughen up and you just do what you have to do. And that's very much the life of a dancer and a performer. It's like, there's somebody 2 steps behind you that wants your part just as bad as you do. So if you don't just keep pushing and making it happen, it's not going to happen for you. And I spent a lot of my childhood unwell. I spent a lot of time sick and dealt with depression and things like that. And I never in my wildest dreams thought it could be connected to other things. Now, my only diagnosed autoimmune disease is psoriasis. And that even took a while because I have it on my scalp. So for a long time, I just thought I had dandruff until I went to a dermatologist, because you probably can't tell because of the lighting in here. I just look like a white ghost, but I have moles all over my body, and I was getting checked by a dermatologist, and they were, oh, you have psoriasis on your scalp. And that didn't happen until I was in college that I got diagnosed with it, and it's something I've been dealing with my whole life. And then I'm fairly certain there's other stuff going on, but it's kind of that I've spent so much of my time not with the unwellness that's happening in my body. And it really took actually being with a partner who was paying attention and said, you can't live like this. Like, you can't do this. And then it's like, you just start peeling back these layers of like, oh, once you deal with like this symptom, it's like, I didn't realize like I'm having all this gastrointestinal stuff. So that's like next on my list to check out. But with the psoriasis specifically, what really helped me being in Matt and Kitchen was doing the food reset. And I definitely feel like I want to do it again and again and again, because I feel like each time the mental fog is a little bit clearer, so you notice different things. But my first one, I started realizing, and I had kind of a sneaking suspicion that alcohol is a big one for me. And I will notice now after, like, if I go out on the weekend, Monday morning, my psoriasis buildup is super bad. And it was something I never noticed before coming to Matt and Kitchen and paying that close attention of like, what's going on with our body, because not just in the fitness world, but in general, there's just information overload and overwhelm. And what a unique opportunity to find a place in a community where it's like, nope, just come to this place, come to this moment, care for your mind, care for your body through nutrition and through fitness, and just, you're worthy of it. Like, you can pay attention to yourself. And I think so often I suffer from burying myself and caring for others and giving the level of care that I maybe don't feel worthy of. And that's something that's, you really have to start thinking about, because you just burn yourself out in caring for others, and you got to fill your cup. And I was spending so much time doing that and not caring for myself. And that's another thing I feel like Matt and Kitchen has brought for me, is empowering myself to be like, no, you need to care for yourself, or you will burn out and you will run yourself into the ground, and you can't keep doing that. Because if you do want to continue to be in service of others, the only way to be there for them is to be there for yourself. And that's been a huge lesson in being with Matt and Kitchen. The relapse thing is a really tough one for me. In addition to my autoimmune disorders, I have really bad sciatica. And it was something that we're not really sure where it originated. I had a fall in February of 2016 when I was rollerblading, and I landed super hard on my tailbone. But because I'm a performer and, health insurance isn't all that easy to come by, I never got it checked out. So it's possible that my disc started to herniate then. I do have like a 3 millimeter herniation in my L5S1. My nerve pain is severe, and there's some days where I can't get out of bed. And I was pretty broken when I found Matt and Kitchen, and it's still a process. Like, there's still relapses and there's still days where it's super tough, but the amount of opening that's happened has been so incredible. And it really spoke to me, what you were saying about sometimes you just need to lay on the mat and like go through it mentally. And it's something like, I never thought about that, because I think also being a people pleaser, it's like you have this all or nothing mentality. It's like you have to be able to do everything or just don't do it at all. And I was telling Tandy actually yesterday, it's like, I constantly hear your voice in my head, woman, going, better is better. Like, just show up for yourself every day. Like, even if it's just a little bit, like, you will get there.
Yeah. It's so powerful. I mean, because I do think we're all, autoimmune or not, I mean, after training bodies for nearly 2 decades, I mean, that's like 20 years of training there. And that I've always said that it's so personal who your personal trainer is or who your teacher is, because you have to let them in. Like, if you don't let them in, there's no capacity to heal or to progress or to get better. If you let them in, you sure as hell better trust them. And I think that in search of fitness and wellness, we have all trusted people we don't really trust. Does that make sense? And so then you start to, when you finally find somebody to trust, then it's like this whole new ball game. And I'll be honest, I didn't really learn to take care of myself and to honor that until I had children. And it really was the pushover. And so it's this kind of, it's the mother part of it. And it's also a little backwards. I still wasn't willing to honor me, but I was willing to honor them. And I'm adopted, and my mother and I don't have a relationship now. She's an addict, and it's unsafe territory. And so, and I didn't make that complete cut until I had children, because I went, I'm not putting them in that scenario. But my fear when I started to take care of me was because of my fear of them losing a mother. It was this weird third party kind of thing. It wasn't even about me. I didn't want them to have that experience if there was anything I could do to prevent that or to sustain it longer. So the power of giving yourself permission. And I think, again, I always get it reflected from you all. Like, I don't always hear what I'm doing. I just go do. But the reflection of giving permission to people, I have found is the most powerful piece of, look, we've been fed a line of baloney in the fitness industry of, you should be able to do that. This people pleasing, right? This perfectionist mentality and performer mentality of, you should be able to do this. Okay, should, but do I want to? Is it really necessary? Do I like that? And versus being given permission to just do the very best you can today. And, you have these big life lessons. And so, Vanessa, I do think you're really the first person to really articulate, sometimes I just lay there and listen. Like, that's powerful.
It's so powerful.
It's really powerful. And I have said, like, in the sessions that I teach, like, then do 5 minutes of the video. Not everybody's going to come to the mat and be able to finish 30. So giving permission to do what you can versus what you think you should, what other people want you to, is unbelievably life-changing. And I, spent a ton of time sick as a kid and into my whole life. And I had hysterical, not that we're like German bashing, but my mother's German family. And I always felt that I was an inconvenience to be sick as a child.
Yeah.
And so then you learn to just go past it, and then you quit listening. And I think that's how we get to the autoimmune stages, that we just keep going, and then we blow out our systems. So it's this, so many pieces. I want to make a linear, cohesive statement, but Jessica, it's just so important, because this chronic pain is no joke. It's not a joke. It's painful, and it hinders your life, and it's in quiet, and it's sad, and nobody's, like you said, what a beautiful partner, that a lot of things you didn't see until you had a partner to reflect it to you.
Yeah. Well, and you and I have spoken about this before too. It's that mental mindset too is so tough, because you get stuck in this victim loop too. And you get stuck in this loop of hating on your own body and being so frustrated and mad at your body for it not being able to do what you want it to do. And I think that one of the bigger lessons that I've taken away from Matt and Kitchen is like treating your body kindly and being like, it's okay. Like, it makes sense that you're broken right now, and that's okay. Like, if you had a broken leg, no one would expect you to walk on it without crutches or out of cast. Like, just honor where it's at today.
And it's all those unseen things. So again, like Christine, like the tears come out, because when you finally find people who can speak your language and honor the language, it's air. It's air for the first time. It's oxygen, where you go, and like you said, okay, so I can't see that disc. Vanessa can't see the disc. It's still there. It's still bulging. It's still compressed. It's still hurt. It's owie, so just because it's not on the outside, it's real. But to get anybody to really honor that is like, I don't know why it's so hard, but it is. And so Vanessa, you wanted to add in to something here.
Well, I just wanted to say, both of you have been talking about the idea of this invisible illness that nobody can see, but here is this really beautiful safe space that Tandy's created, this community that we get to tap into with the Facebook group or emails or in chats like this, where we are heard, we are supported, and we're sitting here listening to each other's stories, and every single one of us is going, that was me. That happens to me every day, and no one believes me, or I'm struggling with myself. This is a constant battle. It's a beautiful community to have people who will listen to you and hear you. And even though we're so far away, and even though we don't know everything about everyone's life story, my heart beats so heavily for all four of us in this room, just like, because we're so connected, and I feel you, and I understand, even though our pain is different, we understand what each other is going through. And I think what you guys are mentioning about how once you give yourself permission, once you truly do that, and what you were saying, Jessica, about when you treat yourself with kindness is when the healing can really begin. And I was a type A personality my entire life, and go, do. And it wasn't until I was diagnosed last year that I started realizing, okay, I have to say no to things. I have to honor myself. And if I don't, it doesn't make me a bad person. I'm just a different person now. And this is a new life for me. And it's really refreshing and really freeing to finally acknowledge that. And once you start tapping into the kindness of yourself, which Tandy offers so beautifully, you just go onto the website and listen, and she just offers this magic of, here's how to take care of yourself today and every day, in every moment. You just follow it and do it, and you're like, wow, yeah, it's okay to just be. It's okay to just be on the mat where I am today. And that's just, I'm so grateful that we have this community in this space fostered by such a strong leader to inspire us to heal ourselves through love of our own body, no matter what shape it's in.
And this is definitely a time, in our culture where it's very powerful to feel seen. And that's definitely something that Matt and Kitchen provides, is giving validation to these symptoms. They're real, they're happening. Like, let's figure out how to unpack it and fix it. And know that as we fix one thing, something else might come up. And slowly but surely, your body is going to become well again. And knowing that it's more of a journey instead of just focusing on it as the destination.
And Christine, you had something you wanted to add also.
Yeah, actually, Jessica really touched on it. When Vanessa was talking, I was really feeling like that this whole thing about this community that we have, where because we all just want to be seen and not judged. And that's what it feels like, this community that you've created. You've got all these people, what Vanessa was talking about. We're witnessing each other and going, yes, I get it. Even though it's not the exact same journey, how you're describing what you're going through is, I understand it. I get it. I see you, I honor you, and I'm not judging you because I totally understand. That is priceless. That alone is worth, it's the MasterCard commercial, right? You can't put a price on that. I mean, it really is. It's like having that community and having kindred spirits, right? That's what we call it in the work that my husband and I do, is having that community of kindred spirits who get you, who respect you. If that was all it is, that would be worth.
And I'll be very, honest and selfish in it. I created what I wanted, because even as a teen, I was in my own path and journey of just trying to get well, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, everything that I was doing. And I also felt this horrendous, and I feel like last week that relapse was a healing for me of like finally getting past it. I still felt ashamed of my body being broken at times as a teacher. Well, she can't fix herself, then why should I listen to her? And again, these ideas of perfection. And I always, I am borrowing this from a friend of mine, Petra Kolber, but the recovering perfectionist, that I am a recovering perfectionist every moment of every day. And that, Jessica, like you said, there is a cultural piece to it that we're coming out of as women culturally. This pleasing, don't be too loud. I mean, I graduated from an all-women's college, and I share that because it is a rare thing. And I didn't realize how special it was until I was well into my 30s, of like, whoa, like the understanding and the background and the history that I understand and know is very different from people who have not had that opportunity and that experience. And this people pleasing and the quiet, and don't be too loud, and don't be too big, and don't take up too much space, and don't you dare not care what somebody thinks of you. I was still navigating all of those things. And then in this hyper awareness of a fitness and wellness community where like I looked skinny, so I was photographed, and so I looked fat. But I felt awful. I felt horrible, and I knew something was wrong and was trying to fix it. And then nobody could help and I say linear process because I am very creative, and I also get very distracted, right? And then you go online and it's like, holy cat, and like, so now I find myself wearing my bossy pants in a big way of like, no, like when you come to the reset, and I'm not going to totally tangent completely, but this comes up inherently. People resist the reset. So the 41-day food reset, they resisted big time. I know. So it's one, I honor that. I get that. It is a shift. You've got to get your head in the game. Your life will change, and you will have to learn how to change with that. But man, will it change for the better and evolve, and just like everything opens up with the food once you crack your food code. But people are hyper resistant to it. And because it change is uncomfortable, but because with the reset in particular, I will tell you right now what buttons it pokes. It pokes all of the buttons of I'm taking care of me. I don't care what you think about it. I don't care what it brings up for you. I do not care emotionally what it pulls up for you about it. This is not about you. This is about me.
Or how inconvenient it is for you, right?
Correct.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And correct. And it's also like, this is where I feel like this year I'm just going to like, I need a pair of jeans that say bossy pants on the butt. Like, I'm just going to wear them all day long. Because you need to do the reset. And people who even like start to make the leap, inevitably, well, can I add this? Well, can I change this? Well, can I do this? Can I do that? Meanwhile, it says in there very clearly, do not make adjustments. Do not make additions. This is not a creative endeavor. This is not a collaborative experience here. Like, this is, you need to go do what mama told you to do. You need to shut up and go get in the kitchen and then come back to me in 41 days. And I think we have, as women, I don't know. I mean, this is a collective as people for sure. We're just resistant to somebody telling us what to do because we've all become so empowered to have everything our own way. And we're all unique. But I also think we've lost some of the capacity to be a student, the capacity to not know, the capacity to not know at such an extreme level that we thwart learning. You know, and I think food just like brings that up big time. The Autoimmune Protocol was an upswing for me. And, you know, Angie and Mickey and, Sarah Ballantyne, I mean, they're brilliant women and it works, right? Like it works, and it works for a lot of people. But there's still a segment of us that are even more the canaries and more the broken birds that are more sensitive that go, yeah, it works about like 3 corridors for us.
Yep.
And it's not for us because everybody is so unique and so different, and that these teeny tiny tweaks to it is what changes. And so the reset allows for there not to be one solid answer. There is a best path. There is a way to figure it out. There is a way to heal a gut, and you do need the animal proteins to do that. But after the initial gut healing, you can wean out that animal product. And some people can wean out all of it. I can't. And we know that environmentally we need to be aware of that. And I think as holistic and spiritually minded people in general, we go, I honor that this animal gave its life for me. And I'd like to do that less, you know, but all the while knowing that it is a cycle of life and there's nothing wrong with it. And that is honestly how we're built, to digest and thrive in the easiest capacity. So there's so many layers of it that I honor, and I'm so thankful for the Autoimmune Protocol because it got me to a certain stage, but it also allowed me to see it's not the only answer out there. And then people go, well, are you the only answer? And I go, no, I'm not. But I think it throws a broad net to get you to your answer faster. Instead of it being these, like Christine, the one diet to the next diet to the next diet. And God bless my husband, because he watched me do all kinds of crazy food things. He thought I'd lost my mind and just over and over. And then finally, when I wrote the reset, went through this whole judgment of, I won't get into it. We'll do a whole nother thing on it about orthorexia, and where it was like, but he had to see me get better. And I felt like the biggest thing I could do was to warrior for myself. And that at this point is the biggest gift I ever hope to inspire. I can't give it to anybody, but I want to crack it open like the little pod seedling in everybody who hits the mat. Like if you just get that whiff of what it's like to warrior for yourself compassionately. That doesn't mean kill everybody in your path, but especially, no, maybe sometimes, you know, like, I don't know, maybe, no, but in the reset and when it comes to protecting and healing and managing an autoimmune system, you do have to create this compassionate bubble and warrior about it and go, I cannot do that. I have to go nap. I can't do that. I have to go to bed. I cannot do that, but I'll bring my own meal. You know, that we get down to experiences and people and souls, right? And we start to declutter okay, so I didn't do 30 minutes on the mat, but I still feel better. You know, it's empowering how do I feel about this? That's what matters. And that's what's real, is that permission of like, you don't feel good. That is real. Now let's go use some intellectual and some science and some intuition and some trial and error and go, why? And how do we make that better? That's all, you know? So I just kind of go, permission is so important. It's not about this ultimate. There is no perfect, you know, and that keeps us from progressing. And that I really selfishly, you know, created a space and for a while I didn't know if I was doing it or not. Like that gave me permission to be me and allowed me to be sick certain days and to go to bed when I needed to and to get well when I needed to and to champion you all when I needed to. And that stirs the pot for all of us. So I just am I'm so grateful for you all. And I'm so blessed that you all did. You didn't know who I was. You know, you just went, I mean, and Christine, you're like, no, that feels true, so I'm going to go there. And I think that's the like, highest compliment ever. Because what feels true is.
Yeah. And
we have to follow the feels, you know, in our box. So, does anybody have anything else they want to add or share?
I do. I want to say that I've actually been going through one of those information overload periods the last probably 3 months. And I am so grateful that you reached out and that I answered to be part of this call, because I am completely inspired. It's reminded me, as I was sharing my truth, it was reminding me of my truth, you know, because we all know our truth, but sometimes it gets clouded with other stuff. And so I'm really committed, and I'm not going to say anything because I've learned that I make these big declarations and then something happens and then it doesn't go through. And it's really important to me to just be honest with what feels right for me. And I don't want to care about what other people think. So, but I'm feeling very inspired, and I was like, oh yeah, there's that truth again. it's always there. So thank you. I'm really grateful to have been part of this. This is exactly what I needed.
Good. I think it's interesting too that like truth is always really loud, and I think it's louder for you, Christine, you know, or for this. But truth is sometimes so loud that we go, "Oh, I am not ready for that."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, big time. Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think okay. Truth is so loud that it's silent sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I do know. Yeah.
That silence is what I think we need to honor, that pause, that navigation, and give permission. So it's just beautiful. You guys are amazing. And I really am, I'm just grateful. I'm so grateful. And I'm going to, you know, go cry here in a minute, but but I'm human too. And brokenness has been a thing. And I went through a period of time that I was like, I'm quitting. Nobody cares. Nobody hears. Nobody, you know, I'm human.
Don't go.
Yeah.
We will be lost.
Yes. And I get that, Tandy. I get that in my own the work that I do. I totally get that. But you know, you are a lifeline for so many people. It's just about getting the word out there to bring more people in. And,
I'm going to say it one more time. I'm so grateful that you all are willing to take your time and give your time to this, because this to me it's not about me, and it isn't about Matt and Kitchen. It's about lending your voice and your stories for other people to be empowered, for those little shells to crack open, for them to hear their permission and for their truth to get really loud, that they go, oh, why not? You know, and that's it. It's genuine and it's real, and it's so noisy out there. It's noisy in the fitness aspect, it's noisy in the food aspect, it's noisy in autoimmune aspects, and it's noisy in the feminine, you know, like we just have to get quiet, but real. So thank you for spending your Saturday morning with me. I just am like, it's amazing. It's pretty magical. And so if anyone out there, this speaks to you in a way that you go, yeah, right on. Yep, I hear it. I hear the silence and I hear the truthiness of it, and I'm putting my bossy pants on and I'm ready to get on the mat, then we're all here waiting, because, you know, we hop on at a certain time, but it's been almost 5 years now. And once people get on the mat, even if they walk away like Jessica did, you know, it's interesting. It's fantastic. I mean, I can tell like the analytics from the back end. I go, give them about 6 months, you know, and they'll be back, because they go, oh, yep, nope, that one sounded like truth. The other one was a bunch of lying. Like, it's just crazy. So there's a timing aspect to it where people need to be willing, but people stick their toe in and then they go, I'm not ready yet. And that's okay, because what we do here is really real, and it's really honest, and we genuinely don't let the bullshit in. So it's like, if you want to come with your noise, it's not the right space for you. But if you want to come with the real and the grounded and the quiet and looking for genuine tools and management and upswing and healing, like, it's here. So thank you for joining me, and thank you for being a part of things, because without you, there's no point to it.
We just got to get more of us.
Yeah.
Exactly. More birds, more canaries, please.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Tandy.
Thank you.
And it's nice to meet you both.
Yay!